to an exciting interview that we've got today with Chad Michael from BuzzWeb. We're very excited to have you here, Chad, so welcome.
Thank you, Anita. Thank you for having me.
Very good, thank you. Thank you. Chad, we talk about content being king, and that, if we're writing content, it's really important to get it out there onto search engines. And you very kindly today have said that you are going to take us through a few action steps to show us how we can get our content viewed and seen on search engines.
That's right. I'm just going to go through a few simple steps, nothing too technical, just something really simple that will allow people to get their blogs or their contents or their articles seen by Google and hopefully indexed so that more and more people can see it organically or naturally.
That sounds fantastic. All right. Well, Chad, do you have a blog? And I think I've shared one of my blogs with you, and you're going to take us through that blog, and you're actually going to show us what we could do to improve it.
Yeah. Just the blog you gave me. It's a relatively older one, so I know that we've both talked a lot since then. But this will be a good example to sort of pick out things where we could manipulate, improve, and in a sense show how it works so that people can get a good understanding from an experience point of view.
Great, thank you very much. So Chad, I'm going to leave it up to you. You take us through it. So if you're going to share screens, and I'm going to put my microphone off until I actually talk to you. Otherwise, Google will switch in and out. So I want you to be the main focus from here.
All right.
So, share screens.
All right, thanks, Juanita. So we're on a blog at the moment, an example blog. It's called 7 Action Steps to Utilize Your Personal LinkedIn Profile to Your Advantage. And it's a well thought out blog, it's well written, and it goes into quite a bit of detail, and it's not a short blog, so the person who's written it has put a decent amount of effort into it. And what I'm going to basically just do, which is very simple, nothing technical, like I said, is go through it and give some hints, tips, ways to manipulate, and essentially allow or encourage the search engine to view it more, index it more, depending on what people search for. Okay, this is the back end of the blog. It's using a CMS called WordPress, which most people are familiar with. And you've got all the texture editing, which allows you to edit the text and format the text, insert pictures, etc. And down at the bottom here, we've got a small tool that allows us to assess the whole blog in order to see how it, in a sense, measures up to what we should be doing. Whether we're following correct protocol, and if there's anything that we're missing, this little tool allows us to see it.
So Chad, if I can just stop you over here, that is a plugin that you put into every single website you build?
Yeah, so this
what
plugin is called
SEO,
WordPress SEO by Yoast. So it's called WordPress SEO, and it's by a company called Yoast, who do a range of plugins, but by far the most popular plugin, and one of the most popular plugins on the WordPress directory is this one, which is called WordPress SEO. And like I said, it allows you to assess your blog in order to see where it might be lacking, what changes can be made in order to get the best out of it in terms of search engine optimization and getting it onto the search engine results page, or the SERP. So the first thing that you should indeed do is pick a focus keyword. And a focus keyword is basically just a keyword or key phrase that encompasses your blog in maybe 2 or 3 words and revolves around what people would be searching for in order to find your blog. So your focus keyword or key phrase should consider what people would be searching for in order to find this information. It's, in a sense, allowing you to structure your content around your target audience. So for this blog, we're going to do something simple like increase linked in engagement. because that's what this blog post is about. It's all about increasing the views on your profile, increasing connections, increasing mail, basically allowing people to find you easier and engage with you more easily. So it's actually come up here with suggestions, and the second suggestion here, how to increase LinkedIn engagement. And this is obviously formulated by what the plugin already knows. It's comparing it to a database of what people are searching for. So we're going to go ahead and click on that, and the focus keyword, or in fact key phrase here, will be how to increase LinkedIn engagement, because that's something that's obviously searched for a lot. And by allowing Google to see that that's what this blog is about, it knows to associate this blog with the people searching for it. All right, does that make sense, Juanita?
Yes, it does. Thank you, Chad.
Okay. So once you have your focus keyword chosen, or in a sense discovered, you will enable yourself to structure your content around that. And I want to show you how that happens as well.
Chad, can I ask you that focus keyword or focus phrase, is that how you see it, that people would be searching for that keyword? Okay, you got it?
Can you hear me clearly?
I can hear you clearly. Go for it. That people would be using.
Yeah, exactly. So how to increase LinkedIn engagement would be a popular search phrase done by people in order to find information like this blog.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, what I'm just going to do is update this blog on WordPress, and by having the focus keyword in there, it's going to form an analysis of the blog around that keyword to help you manipulate the content.
Sorry, can you just show us where you updated it?
Yeah, the just over here on the right side, just update.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll see here, just a little to the left, but still on the right side, there's a button called check, and that's for the SEO. So you can see at the moment there it's yellow, and ideally you want all your blogs or articles to be in the green spectrum. So we're going to click here, check on the right side. And I mean, this is all automated for us, and it makes it easier, but you can do this all manually, and that's what this video or this tutorial is mostly about, is how you could do this without this plugin, but obviously the plugin makes it a lot easier. So the first thing here, we can see there's a checklist that comes up. The red is obviously things that need to be done urgently, and the green things are things, green spectrum balls are things that have been done well. So right at the top there, we've got no meta description has been specified. Search engines will display copy from the page instead. And what that means is you need to specify a description, and if you don't, the first few words will be your description, which isn't always ideal because the first few words of your blog doesn't actually tell what the blog's about.
So you mind if I stop you there for a second? When you talk about the meta description, that is, so if I'm going and doing a search on Google, that's the description that comes up underneath the actual blog title?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
So can you give us a can you show us on screen what we're talking about, so that people know what we're talking about here?
Sure.
Can you just open up a tab and?
So can you see my screen at the moment?
Yes, I can.
Excellent. So what you'll find is on my screen there, it's got the Google search box with rarest baseball card. And one of the results, obviously probably the top result, is top 10 rarest baseball cards. And it's done by Brandon's Baseball Cards, which is obviously the website's name. And you can see underneath that title, the words appear, these 10 baseball cards are the rarest in the world. Here, the story behind each card and how much you could expect to pay for them at auction. Many will ... So that what I just read out is the meta description, and you can see by the ellipsis at the end of the description, this hasn't actually been specified, or if it has, it's been too long. Hence the ellipsis, because Google only has a certain character limit for your title, your description, etc. Does that make sense? Does that
Yes.
clear where the meta description appears?
Absolutely. So for the meta description, you're also saying then just keep within the actual number of words and don't go over that. So you shouldn't have ellipsis.
Yeah, that's right. So you need to specify it, but you also need to specify it according to a certain protocol. So obviously the first one would be make sure your meta description involves or gives a short description of what the blog is. Now the one that's actually displayed here isn't actually that bad because it talks about what the blog is about. Example, which cards are the rarest, the story behind each card, and how much you could expect to pay for them. Which brings up a good point that the first few words or the first few sentences of your blog should be an introduction to the blog and allow you to, or allow the reader, should I say, to understand what they're about to get into. So your meta description has two functions, obviously for the reader as well as the search engine. You need the search engine to recognize what your blog's about, as well as the reader will most likely disregard it if your meta description isn't related to what they're looking for. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yep, okay. Absolutely.
So your meta description is one of the most important things, probably the third or fourth most important aspect in search engine optimization. The keyword or phrase, how to increase LinkedIn engagement, does not appear in the page title.
So Chad, do you mind if you don't mind, can you just take us through, as you do it, can you go and put a meta description in for us?
Sure. What I'll do is I'll just go from the second point here because, in my opinion, that's actually more important than the meta description is the title itself. The keyword or key phrase of how to increase LinkedIn engagement does not appear in the page title. So what I would do if this was my blog is instead of saying 7 action steps to utilize your etc., I would use something along the lines of 7 action steps to increase your LinkedIn engagement or increase your personal LinkedIn profile engagement.
Let's do that.
7 steps to increase your personal profile LinkedIn engagement. Okay. Now you don't want your meta title to be too long, but we'll come to that shortly actually, and we may even do further manipulations because there's things like character limits, etc. What you will find though with this plugin, which isn't entirely accurate, and I'll just quickly explain it, is that I've said here 7 steps to increase your personal profile LinkedIn engagement, and all the words that we're looking for are in there, except they're not in the order that it requires for the key phrase because we've inserted the words there, personal profile. So that actually will work to our benefit in that people searching for their personal profile increasing LinkedIn engagement, this will come up higher than just general LinkedIn engagement because we're specifying specifically where we want to increase the engagement. So it could be business page, it could be groups, it could be your personal profile, etc., or increasing engagement on your posts. So those are the sort of things you want to those are the sorts of things you want to consider as well. Where on LinkedIn you're actually going to increase your engagement.
Perfect.
Okay, so I've added it now, and we're going to run a check again, which is on the right side here. Now you'll see there it says the keyword or key phrase, how to increase your, it doesn't appear in the page title, but as said, we're going to ignore that now because it doesn't take into consideration that the actual title is there, but it's just not in the order that it wants it.
Right.
So a meta description around this, obviously you would know your content and what your meta description could be, but your meta description as well needs to include your key phrase or key title, your key phrase or key word. So for the meta description, for example, here we could say something along the lines of need to increase your LinkedIn engagement. This article goes through 7 simple steps to increase your increase your personal profile So what I've written there, need to increase your LinkedIn engagement. This article goes through 7 simple steps to increase your personal profile LinkedIn engagement. So I've done a bit of repeating, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. As well as I've included the fact that it's only 7 steps. So when somebody reads this and they see the word simple, it allows them to relate to it. Okay, that's cool. I'm going to click on that because I need simplicity here.
Right.
You can see underneath the meta description it says 156 characters. That also includes spaces. So there is actually some guidelines when using this plugin. Obviously the character limit is one of them.
And just checking that character limit, so that actually limits you specifically to the amount without the ellipsis?
Yeah, that's right. So if I go over 156 characters, even by 1, it's going to include an ellipsis.
And so that and you can go over those characters. It's just then it would include an ellipsis.
Yeah, and you don't necessarily want to. You would want it condensed and make sure that it's all kosher in a sense.
Okay.
Okay. I'm just going to update this once more. Well, not once more. I'm going to carry on doing it as we need to. But by updating it, I'll allow the plugin to see the content and change the analysis as we go forward. Okay. So here we have a meta description has been specified, but it does not contain the target keyword or phrase. Obviously, that's not true. We've already established that it does contain it, but obviously it's not in the order that the plugin thinks it should be in, which we will disregard. It's in there. It's a good meta description, and it tells exactly what the blog's about. All right?
Mm-hmm.
So the next thing here, the next step, the keyword density is 0%, which is a bit low. The keyword was found 0 times. So the key phrase, how to increase your LinkedIn engagement, should be throughout the article. And you should give ideas, conclusions which revolve around that and include it in there. Google likes to see the key phrase in the content so that it knows that you are actually talking about what you claim to be. In this case, obviously, increasing your LinkedIn engagement.
Right.
For that, we would have to go through the whole blog and insert it or manipulate the content. So we won't do that one today. But obviously, as you write it, make sure you slip the keyword or key phrase in there wherever applicable. Don't shy away from it. The slug for this page is a bit long. Consider shortening it. So the slug is actually the URL itself, or the end of the URL. It's the part that follows the original website URL. So in this case, it's going to be bizcsi.com / and the article name. So it says it's a bit long, and we would take that into consideration, and we could basically shorten this. So it depends on what you find more. It depends on what you consider to be more important, whether the word action in this title is going to be very helpful or personal profile is going to be helpful, but you might want to consider shortening it if it goes very, very long. At the moment, the way I see it now, it actually looks fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It says to consider shortening it. We have considered. I'm going to say no, we won't do that. Okay. Now, the keyword for this page contains 1 or more stop words. Consider removing them. And it found the word how. So if we go here onto Wikipedia and look for stop words are words which are filtered out before or after processing the natural language data or text. So in this case, it says consider removing the word how. But the reason we're going to keep that in there is because it's a highly searchable term and it relates well to the actual content. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll keep the word how in there. It is a stop word that might not be processed, but it is one that we know is processed by Google because we use the word how in searches all the time. Moving on, the images are...
Can I just interrupt you there, Chet, before you move on? What kind of stop words would you remove? Like, what kind of stop words have you come across that you'd be going, definitely remove these kind of stop words?
Words like and an, articles like or the word an, generally are words which aren't processed by Google. There are sometimes the word the isn't processed by Google. I mean, it's changed so much over the years, but in a sense, stop words are words that don't add value to the title of the article. So a great article on LinkedIn, you don't have to have the word it can be replaced by something much more valuable.
Right.
Does that make sense? Is that all right?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. We will include the link for stop words under this article. Would that be all right, Juanita?
Yes, that's great. Thank you.
Or under this video, I should say, and people can read up on it. And in a sense, it is a case-by-case basis, but you don't want to absolutely discredit or absolutely credit one way or another.
Yeah.
Okay, the images on this page do not have alt tags. So an alt tag is what Google reads as the image, as to what the image is, because Google, it has changed again over the last few years, but it's still better to have an alt tag rather than not, because Google can very easily find out what your image is. And that allows people to search for something related to that image, obviously in Google Image Search or Bing Image Search. And your images will come up because they've been alt tagged correctly, and Google knows that that is related to what the people are searching for. So an example here is, as you can see here, it's a screenshot of your profile on LinkedIn. And what I'm going to do...
An old one. Yeah.
Well, it's an old picture, yeah.
Well, it's an old profile, yeah.
It's an old profile, yeah. So in order to alt tag this in WordPress, it's very, very simple. I'm going to click on the edit button, and I'm going to see there where it says alternative text.
Yes.
I'm going to put in there Juanita Zogby LinkedIn profile.
And you put in Juanita Zogby for re?
Sure. The LinkedIn profile. Now, this is going to be obviously much better than what was previously there, which was just NO space 2. So when people search up Juanita Zogby LinkedIn profile or Juanita Fourie LinkedIn profile, this image will obviously come up higher than it did previously because Google knows exactly what it's about. And that's the whole purpose of alt tags.
Chet, can I ask you a question? Because I noticed that when you're typing in, like, for example, the word LinkedIn, you're not spelling it correctly, as in the capital L with a capital I. You're just typing in LinkedIn. Is there a reason for that, or should you be typing it in the correct way, or?
Again, it's sort of something that will depend on who you ask. Back in the day, maybe 5-10 years ago, when you type the word term with a capital T or a small t, you would actually get entirely different results. But the whole purpose of a search engine today is to try and predict what the people or what the searcher is actually looking for.
Right.
And obviously it's got very complicated algorithms, but the purpose of it is not to bring results as relating to what the person's searching for as much as what they're intending to find. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So when I type in LinkedIn, it depends on the context, but in image alt tags, it doesn't matter whether you're using a capital or not, unless of course you're referring to something that has the same name, but you want to make sure that you're referring to the business. So if there was something else called LinkedIn, which wasn't a pronoun, and that was as popular as obviously the LinkedIn social network, you would want to specify obviously the capitals, because that way Google will see, oh, he's talking about the pronoun LinkedIn.
Gotcha.
But generally it doesn't matter. You can use your small letters and it won't make a difference.
Great, thank you.
Okay, I'm also just going to quickly show you how this looks in the code for anyone who's not using the WordPress CMS. And you see on my screen here, we've got the image tag, so it's holding the image, and then here comes the alt tag. So if you do have your, if you don't have WordPress, should I say, and you're using raw HTML, all you have to do is alt equals and put in your tag basically. So if you're running a website that doesn't use a content management system and you're just typing in your content raw into your editor and you're pasting it, that's all fine. But obviously you would want to go into the editor of the code and insert that alt tag manually. It's very important. Alt tags are one of the most essential things when it comes to SEO.
Why is that?
Like I said, because you want Google to know what your image is about. So if I search the words Juanita Zogbifari LinkedIn profile, that's going to be coming up much higher if it has the correct alt tag than if it doesn't, because Google won't know what it's about. It has to run very complicated algorithms, which isn't as nearly as effective as if you put the alt tag in manually. So just all it does is tells Google what you're actually talking about.
Yes.
Okay. Let's go back to the checklist here. So the page title contains 130 characters, which is more than the viewable limit of 70 characters. Some words will not be visible to users in your listing. So we talked a little bit about the character limits of meta descriptions. So the title description also has a character limit. And if we go back to the PDF, you can see top 10 rarest baseball cards, Brandon baseball cards. That's going to be under 70 characters. And so your title can also have an ellipsis at the end of it if it's too long. And that would be the case here if we left it as it is. And we're just going to use the plugin itself to manipulate that. So SEO title, you can see here it says 7 action steps to increase your personal profile LinkedIn engagement - BizCSI - business customer service and sales innovation. So for the title, remember the SEO title or the meta title, which is what appears on Google or Facebook, depending on where you paste the link, anywhere. The meta title is what is automatically generated when it appears, but it doesn't mean that it's disregarding the title on your page itself. So
Right.
if you want to change the meta title to your title that you actually have displayed, it's not going to be a negative impact if you do it correctly. So for this one, for the SEO or meta title, I'm going to say 7 steps to increase LinkedIn personal profile engagement. You can see here I'm using capital letters because this is how it actually appears.
Right.
Paste it, and I want it to look professional. And all I'm going to do is change the end, but instead of saying BizCSI, Biz Customer Improvement, etc., because that's all going to be cut off, I'm just going to put there -BizCSI because I don't want it to be cut off, and I don't want Google to disregard anything or penalize me for it. And you can see here it says 70 characters. I've got 5 characters left. I'm well under the limit, and I've used it well. Okay, is that all fine? Does that make sense?
So can you just take? Are you updating that quickly?
I can do if you want. I'll just give it an
Yeah, and can you just show us what the title of the actual blog is, so that we can see the differences?
Yeah. Do you mean the title? The title of the blog itself, like I say, hasn't changed. So it's still 7
Yes.
action steps to increase your personal profile LinkedIn engagement.
Yeah. So
That still
just
stays the same. And I'll just say when you view the blog, this is what I was saying before. When you view the blog, it's still the same here.
Mm-hmm.
But if I was to go and paste this, I'm not sure it'll work because it's only just recently refreshed. That's you. If I can just go to my plus page here and paste it.
You just popped up a lovely little article that you wrote about all of this. So
yeah, we can paste that in. Okay, yeah, it has actually updated, and you can see there. I hope you can see it. It says 7 steps to increase your LinkedIn profile, personal profile engagement dash biz CSI. So that's how it's going to appear on any social network or anywhere you paste it, or how it appears to Google or off the bat. But obviously, when you go to the post, you can see there it's still got the old title that we just recently put in.
right. Okay.
Okay. Now Google does still regard this title, but in order for professionalism and as well as allowing Google to see what the blog's about, we're going to use that 7 with the number 7 steps to increase LinkedIn personal profile engagement dash biz CSI.
Okay.
All right.
Yes.
Now the next one, the keyword key phrase does not appear in the URL. So again, we have actually done this, and it's automatically generated. So we're not going to worry about it. But again, it's not in the order that the plugin thinks it should be, because what we've typed is how to increase LinkedIn engagement or something along those lines. And that's exactly what it's looking for. And obviously, we're not going to do those exact words. We're just trying to base this article around that focus keyword as much as possible within reason, so that we can allow Google to know specifically what this whole article is about.
Right.
Okay. The next, and it seems like the last aspect, which I didn't actually include in my LinkedIn article that I wrote, but it's equally important, is no subheading tags like an H2 appears in the copy. So a heading tag, again, it encompasses basically what your paragraph would be about. And for this particular blog, it's really, really good to use, because we could actually make all of these action steps into an H3 or an H2 tag. So I'm going to make them an H2 tag each.
So, Chet, can you just stop there and explain to us H1, H2, H3 tags and which are important and why?
Yeah, so I mean, in a sense, they're all important. Use as many as you need to. H1 is generally what you use for your titles. So if you see here, this would be the H1 tag, and that's obviously seen by Google, and obviously it's displayed as the most important aspect or the most important heading. So you would use that for the most important things on your blog. You would use H2 for something that maybe comes underneath that, and so on and so forth. The other aspect that you have to consider is your heading tags, are styled a particular way. So it might be good to use H2 tags if they're styled correctly, but if the writing is too big, it's going to be off-putting to the reader. So I would use H3 tags here specifically because it's not going to be overwhelming, it's not going to be too big, it's still going to be legible, and all that. Originally, this article was written with bold tags, which is also helpful, but it's much better rather to use a heading tag than a bold tag.
Could you do both?
You can do both.
It doesn't matter, hey?
I would use a bold tag when you're trying to emphasize something other than the heading tag. So if you're using an H3 tag, and there's something in the H3 tag that you want to emphasize, then obviously use the bold within it.
Yeah. But I'm just thinking, if I'm correct me if I'm wrong here, when you're doing the H1, H2, H3 tags, it's set up anyway in a certain style, which is normally bold and everything anyway.
It depends how the person or the design has been done, but it's not necessarily always going to be bold and you'd have to check that yourself.
Right.
Obviously. So, I mean, you could use action 1 check to make sure you only have one LinkedIn profile. So I might go there. I'll unbold this, but I will bold that specific part of it because that's the emphasis in that action step. I might, for example, bold in action 2, add a professional photo. I'm going to bold the words professional and photo.
Mm-hmm.
Action 3 is short and sweet. I might bold in action 4. I might bold public profile URL because that's the most important part of it, and that's more for visual appeal rather than SEO.
Yes.
If that makes sense, that's just allowing people to
it's easier to
recognize something. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you do want to use H tags, heading tags throughout your blog. So I've used the majority are H3 tags. That's for each action step. And I used an H2 tag at the bottom, which was the conclusion. But in the conclusion itself, because the H2 tag resembles what the blog is about, like I said, Google likes to see heading tags to understand more and more what the blog's about. For the conclusion, I would include something more rather than just in conclusion. And that would allow the heading tag to be taken full advantage.
So could you change the in conclusion, and could you say something there like use these 7 steps to get engagement on your LinkedIn profile?
Yeah, you could do that. Let me see here what's been written. There's so much more.
So really, like the old style of writing where you start with introduction and end with words like conclusion are not necessarily good on blogs.
You would, if you wanted to include the words introduction and conclusion, they're they've got no significance to them unless you write around it. So I would have the words in conclusion and introduction as normal text or paragraph text, and then write what the conclusion is or a few words in a heading tag or in bold or something like that.
Right.
You want to put emphasis on what has value rather than just words like conclusion and introduction.
That's very valuable. Thank you, Chad.
All right, and I mean, also you would you do write. I mean, depending on how you write, but you can write in the old style introduction, body, conclusion, but you wouldn't use the words in conclusion or this is the introduction because that's obviously a given when somebody reads it.
Yes.
I mean, I could write here, for example, in conclusion. There is so much. You could say, I mean, your tag at the end could actually be something along the lines of promoting something, like to find out more, download my free ebook, for example, and that could be in your H2 tags, because and you would say something like to find out more, download my free ebook on how to increase LinkedIn engagement. And then underneath that, in normal paragraph text, you could write more about it, saying something like, "The ebook talks more about the general outline of LinkedIn, and it's not just about your personal profile. It talks about groups, posts, how to use mail correctly." You know what I mean?
Yes.
So your H2 tag, again, it's using those specific keywords, but it still has value.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to update that again. Check. I'm just going to make sure here that everything that I want to be done is done. So the keyword does appear in the page title. I don't know if it appears in the first paragraph of the copy, but that's going to be something else. So the analysis changes the more you update it. So here it's saying the keyword does not appear in the first paragraph. So you would want to include it there when you're writing.
But what I'm also hearing you say, Chad, what I'm also hearing you say is that sometimes, even though you've got the actual plugin, as long as you've kind of followed the protocol, even if you haven't put the words in the right order, it will still stay read, but it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's right. Yeah, so if you did, for example, have the words increase engagement LinkedIn personal profile in a sentence in the first paragraph, this plugin won't pick it up.
Yes.
So it's good, but it does obviously have its drawbacks, as does everything, and that's why you need personal input or personal common sense.
Now we've got the green things there that we've done pretty well, but
Yep.
I think let's go through those because people need to know about those.
Sure. Okay, so the first one, the copy score is a 71.5 in the Flesch Reading Ease Test. And the Flesch Reading Ease Test, it works on a scale. A lot of people get confused thinking it's a score-based test, but it's actually a spectrum-based test. And all it tells you is who the target audience should be according to how you've written it. So we can click on it to give us a bit more information here. And it gives us the scores. So we've got a 71.5. And according to the scores here on Wikipedia, 0 to 30 on the spectrum means that it's best understood by university graduates. So it might be a research paper, it might be a scientific study, something along those lines. 60 to 70 is easily understood by 13 to 15-year-old students, and 90 to 100 is easily understood by an average 11-year-old student. So again, it's not better if the score's higher or lower. It's a spectrum to allow you to establish who would most easily read this content. So we've got
I think yeah, and then that's pretty good because we're kind of in the middle there with the content. But I think one of the things that we as bloggers need to remember is that we've got to make our writing as easy as possible for people to understand and read.
That's right, yeah.
Not totally dumbed down, but as easy as possible for people to read.
Absolutely, yeah.
So that score is also based on the ease of paragraphs, the shortness of sentences.
Yeah, it's quite a complicated formula, and it takes into consideration a lot of things like the number of words, the number of sentences, the number of syllables, the number of like I said, the number of words, how long sentences are, etc., etc. So it's actually quite a complicated formula. But what we'll do is we'll include another link which allows you to simply paste your content in to this reader, and the reader will compare or calculate your content and come out with a score.
Fantastic, thank you.
All right. Next one on the list, this page has 3 outbound links. So it's important to have outbound links. A lot of people are afraid of putting outbound links to other sources. If you use outbound links and form a relationship with other websites, and they start putting outbound links on their blog to you, Google loves this. It sees you as a more reputable source, and all in all, you'll be better off in terms of SEO. So don't be afraid to use outbound links, especially to credible sources, because it only helps your reputation and credibility.
So especially with things like if you're doing research papers and you've pulled up research from somewhere else, or you are referring to a particular paragraph in somebody else's website and things like that, it's no good. So just while we're on there, Chet, if you can clarify this, because it's no good copying somebody's paragraph and sticking it into your blog.
Yeah, that's
Google
right.
actually picks up the duplicate information.
Yeah, that's right. So if you want to, for example, if I'm writing a blog on goal setting or something along those lines, and I read something really helpful by, for example, Richard Branson on LinkedIn, I would copy that paragraph and I would put it in quotation tags, which is a tag, quote, close tag, with the content, and Google then picks up that this is not my content, I've actually taken it from somewhere else. And underneath that or next to it, I would put the link of where I found that.
Right.
So that's a great way to use outbound links if you're using external sources for information. Make sure if you use external sources, link back to them. It's ethically the correct thing to do, as well as it works in your favor in terms of SEO.
Right. I think that's fantastic to know, because I think, as you said right when you started, a lot of people are scared to link back to links because they think it's going to go off their page.
Yeah,
But
obviously, when doing the links, obviously make sure you make the link open up a new tab or a new window. And maybe in another session we can talk about the technicalities of how to do that. But generally, especially in WordPress, it always asks you whether you want to open it in the same window or another window. And obviously just select another window, because you don't want them to float away from your content, but you also want to include third-party sources.
great, thank you.
All right, the next point, there are 988 words containing your body copy. This is greater than the 300-word recommended minimum. So minimum recommendation is 300 words. I like to go for about 500 to 1,000, maybe even 1,500 if it's very complicated. Obviously, consider that most people won't read more than 1,000 words. So obviously, keep it to a legible amount. Don't wish-wash in order to generate word count. Keep it concise and simple, and fill your article with valuable content. Don't become wish-washy in order to try and trick the system. Actually introduce valuable content in order to increase the word count.
Words. I do know at the moment that Google right now are looking for longer content, so they do score higher on the longer content of 1,500 words to 5,000. But I completely agree with you, Chad, is that it's important more to add the value in the content, but also not to just write content for the sake of it. I see a lot of people writing short snippets just to have some content out there, and Google doesn't like that. So it really doesn't like those short snippet stuff that people pop in and again, just writing for the sake of having an article or something up there.
Yeah,
it really is about the value.
Exactly, yeah. And I mean, if you're writing short snippets, rather save them up and formulate a long blog post later on with all of it, if it's based around the same content. But don't just release short snippets, because generally, if you're releasing little bits and bobs, that same information could be found somewhere else in the midst of something longer. So it's all about adding value to your audience. Okay, so the next point here, it says you've never used this focus keyword before. Very good. So try and keep your this can be a little bit tricky, but if you have a website on a lot of different topics, it can be seen as in a sense all over the place. So keep your website to as few niches as possible, but write about different aspects in that niche as much as possible. So this might be a blog, a part of a whole website, which is all about social media presence, and social media presence is the topic of your blog. But now you're writing obviously about LinkedIn engagement on your personal profile. So keep it in your niche, but change the topic. Don't rehash content again just for the sake of getting content out there. Always consider that you want to add value to your audience. If you do want to rehash content, or if you do want to push something again, you would use a link within your article relating to that older blog post or article.
Yes.
So for example, if I write a blog later on about LinkedIn business pages, I could include a link to this blog post saying, last week we wrote about the personal profile, and this week we're going to write about the business profile.
Gotcha.
Okay. This page title is more than 40 characters and less than the recommended 70 characters, so that's good. More than 40 characters, again, you're not just writing about nonsense. You've got a specific topic in mind that you've thought out. And the final point in the meta description, consider how does it compare to the competition? Could it be more appealing? And this is actually a good point which I didn't really touch on before. But if you notice, I did something in the meta description which you don't often see, which is ask a question. Need to increase LinkedIn engagement. And what this does is allows people to relate to it quickly and entices the person to read it. Whereas you could have just said this article goes through 7 simple steps to increase. You know, you want to quickly grab someone's attention, and the way I've done that is by asking a very short question relating to the content in the beginning of the meta description. Okay.
That's good. Thank you.
Yeah, consider what your competition would write as well, and try and do it better.
This is where we talk all the time when, you know, when you're blogging and things like that, is to keep your swipe files. So swipe file means it's a file where you're keeping all your information in. Keep headings, keep titles, keep everything in there so that you've got somewhere where you can go to, a source that you can pick up information and look at it again, and really look at other people's stuff and take what grabs your attention.
Definitely. So, yeah, I mean, we've actually gone through the Yoast SEO analysis part of the plugin, but it's really, really valuable. I'm happy that we did it. In a sense, it simplifies everything for anybody watching this. And if you do have a WordPress blog, obviously download the WordPress SEO by Yoast plugin. There are a few others, but this is by far my favorite. And if you don't, you can obviously use this plugin. Sorry, you can use this video to, in a sense, create a formula that allows you to get your content as optimized as possible for search engines.
Yes. That sounds perfect. Can you come back on screen?
Sure. I don't know how I look.
Just the green button again. And
let's have a go. There we are. Screen share.
There we go. You're back.
Excellent.
There you are. Oh, you're back again. Thank you. Chad,
All right.
Thank you so much for the time that you've spent going through this with us. We really appreciate it.
That's all right.
And
Thank you
you've
for
given
having
us some excellent hints and tips for getting our blog onto being able to be searched.
Mm-hmm.
And that is going to be invaluable.
All right. I'm glad I could help. And like I say, obviously, I hope this helps anybody who you showed to, and I hope it helps anyone who views it. If you do have any questions, you can email me anytime at chad@buzzweb.co.nz. I'm sure we can leave a link underneath this video. Obviously, check out my LinkedIn profile or my website if you have any questions.
Thank you.
I've only just started up my website, so we're going to get a blog going very soon. So there's no content there at the moment, but if you want to subscribe to that blog, you can, and obviously content will be coming very soon.
Great.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you so
Chad.
much. Bye now.
See ya. Bye. Bye.